Hello everyone. I just wanted to add a supplemental video for you to teach you a little bit more about the pen tool and the shape tool. So this way it'll assist you with your vectorized project. With this video, I'm going to first start off with the pen tool. There's two different options with the pen tool. There's the actual pen tool and then the node tool. The pen tool is basically for drawing and the node tool is for manipulating that drawing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch my settings back. It's still left over from my last project that I was working on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come in and I'm going to draw a shape. So say I was copying something and the shape went up coming like this. You're going to notice that the first thing that's going to occur is that the fill is white. So if I click off of this, notice that there's nothing there. I can mess around with this in two different ways. One, I can actually add a fill, so now you can see my shape has a nice solid color to it. Or if I didn't want any color to it at all, I just wanted an outline, I would come here and bump up the stroke, which is basically an outline of the perimeter of it. That's pretty much the two different ways that I can manipulate it in the sense of its main structure. However, with the line, I can switch this to a dotted line if you want. Notice as I zoom in, that becomes a nice little dotted line that goes with it. You're rarely ever going to need that. There is a brush option, which I haven't seen too much. It says texture line style, but I haven't seen much of a difference so far in this program. As I discover a little bit more with it, I'll let you guys know in class. One of the other things that you might want to look at is sometimes you might not want a square line. So notice that as I create this line, if I zoom into it, if I want just a plain old single line, notice that it comes off with a round edge. And it's a little fuzzy because I'm zoomed in pretty close to it. I'm at around 400%, but basically right now it has a round cap, it's called. The other option is a butt cap or a square cap. The butt cap basically means that the line butts up right even with the end of the node. A square cap, obviously that means that the node goes a little bit further on. There's two different ways that you would want to use this. If you were, say, creating a nice shape where you wanted them to end with one another and you connect, notice that it does actually round them out a little bit. We would wind up having to, when we go to join, we want a mitered edge. That mitered edge makes a nice square. You can also choose this middle one, which kind of gives it a little bit of a diagonal at the end. It's not showing up what it's called. Bevel, there we go. And then the other one obviously is round, as I said. You can see how that's changing right here on the edges. Now for a line, you can either have it aligned directly in the center, you can have it where these nodes are the actual edges, or you can have it where it's the insides. But basically you can mess with these as you want, but most people just keep this nice and standard right down here unless you really need to change something. The other thing that's nice is as we start adding in some curves, we have this thing called pressure for the stroke, which we can change things around. So to do that, I'm going to switch to the node tool. As I hover over a line, that's going to allow me to grab this and start to change it. If you click and drag on it, it's going to allow you to add a curve to it. Depending on where you click is going to be where your curve is going to come into effect. So notice that I kind of have that wavy line. I can also mess around with this by grabbing these. Basically, this determines how close to the edge that curve starts to occur. If I wanted to mess around with that curve just a little bit more, meaning, say I wanted it almost kind of like a pen stroke, I would come back in here to my stroke, come to pressure, and I can add in another point. So say I want the edges to be really thick and the center to be very thin. I can just click here on the center, create an extra node, drag it down, and notice that, well, this time it actually towards the center, which is actually over here, from where I started. So I started here, came all the way back around here. The center of my object is over here. So if I want just this little portion to have that curve, basically I would just kind of have to move around this node until it gets to that spot. Or what I can do is I can add in extra ones. Basically, since I have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, I can add in 4 extra nodes, and that'll allow me to basically mess with just this one little section if I wanted just that one little section to change. If for some reason I just had a nice straight line with a curve in it, I can also mess with just that one little section if I wanted to. But basically, for every corner that you have, or these white little boxes, that's how many you would have to add in order to mess with it. You can actually even add in a little bit more if I wanted just that one little section to change. Again, this is mainly for you just to play around with. The more you play with it, the more that you'll learn. I'm going to switch that back by hitting reset. If I were to have left that there and start to draw, it would copy that to the next one, shape that I would be drawing. So make sure that whatever changes you do to the stroke, you undo them, you reset them for the next one. Otherwise, it's going to copy those settings. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. So say I want to change this, the color of these shapes after I've already made the stroke. What you can do is there's a couple options. You can use the eyedropper. So basically you would use the eyedropper, find the color that you wanted. Say it was somewhere on my screen. Actually, let me just change this color of this object first. Basically, I can use my color palette, start changing the color. After I change the color, say I want to change the color of this one, and I want it to be the same as that. I can just grab the eyedropper, click on the eyedropper, and it'll automatically change it. Make sure that you click on it with the move tool first before you go and do that, otherwise it won't copy over. The other way you can do it is just grab the eyedropper from up here, drag it over, get the color, but then you have to hit the eyedropper up here, the color next to it, then it'll copy over. Make sure you're only selected on the layer that you want to change. If you have more than one layer selected, it will change more than one layer, which can be a little annoying when you have a ton of layers, which is why it's so important to make sure that you are grouping your layers. Now, the next tool I'm going to talk about is the shape tool. Shape tool is pretty easy. We can create a quick rectangle. Notice that it's keeping the same settings as before, which is the color and also the stroke. So the color and the stroke from the pen is also copied over to the shape tool. So if you don't want them, make sure that you change them prior to copying over. Also, if you're going to change them, say I'm on my last shape, which is here, and I want to change it for the next shape before I draw it. If I go and change it up here, notice that it changes it down here. So make sure that you click off of your layer, you have nothing selected, then you can come in here to your shape tool, change it, the settings, and notice nothing changes over here. So there's all different shapes. You just have to hold down your mouse and you can find all different shapes down here. Say I want it to cloud, you click, you drag. But say this is cloud, I don't like the way that it looks. One, I want to do here, and two, I don't like the generic of the shape. So what I can do is I can actually hit convert to curves. This creates a bunch of curves, which is what the pen creates. Now I can grab my node tool and I can start manipulating this the way that I want to. So maybe I make what looks more like a flower now. Basically, I can just change all of this after the fact once I convert that over to curves. So again, after you create a shape, in order to manipulate that shape, you just click convert to curves and that'll do that for you. That is a brief overview of what you need to know for this project. There's a ton of other things that you can do with both of these tools. If you want to do other things, play with it. The best way to learn this program is just to go in and practice and have fun with it. And that's about it. If you have any questions, let me know and have fun.